My name is Wendy Wood, and I've been the Joint Master of the Myopia Hunt since 2017. Thank you very much for this very special honor from the MFHA. We're delighted to be the recipients of the Hunting Habitat Award. As I'll explain, we have a long history of conservation in our hunt for which we are very proud. The Myopia Hunt is one of the oldest hunts in America, having hunted its territory north of Boston since 1882. Despite being just 20 miles north of downtown, the hunt's territory still consists of many thousands of acres, much of which has been permanently protected. The Myopia Hunt members and masters have a long tradition of conservation and preservation. Back in 1931, 87 acres was purchased by 5 hunt members with the understanding that this would remain open space for primarily equestrian use and for use of the hunt. 20 of those acres were subsequently gifted to the town of Hamilton for their own recreational needs, which provides a nice community backdrop for our equestrian pursuits. This is where we host the Myopia Horse Show, which is now in its 123rd year of running. We have a polo field there, which attracts spectators from the town and also polo players from around the country. There is an arena there, a polo arena, a boarded polo arena that anyone is welcome to use. On any given Saturday, one might see many people coming from our town and from other towns to trail ride their horses, to walk their dogs, to enjoy this beautiful open space. It is private property and will become the sole property of the Myopia Hunt Club in years forward. So the expectation that it will remain as beautiful and open as it is right now is very high. Myopia's expansive territory is due primarily to the vision of the hunt's earlier generation of leaders and participants, who had the foresight to understand the importance of preserving land and trail access long before today's developmental pressures were manifested. Among the most important of our territories are the 1,000-acre Appleton farm property, gifted by the Appleton family to the trustees of reservation, and over 3,000 acres of state park donated by Bradley Palmer. This tradition of land and trail conservation has continued to this day, as key parts of Myopia's territory have been preserved in recent years through a combination of major private donations, public fundraising campaigns, and government grants. In this short video, I will give a brief overview of some of our efforts. Perhaps the person who has contributed the most to the preservation of the hunt's territory has been Susannah Colleredo-Mansfeld, who co-founded the Essex County Trail Association in 1982 and also played key roles with the Essex County Greenbelt. The ECTA holds deeds that protects the hunt's access to many of its key trails, while the Greenbelt has been solely or jointly responsible since 1961 for the preservation of 21,000 acres in Essex County, Massachusetts, where the hunt is based.
So I decided to start a trail association to protect the connecting links that join all these beautiful properties together. And I was very, very fortunate because all of the owners of the properties were all friends of my parents. They were all that generation. So they hadn't sold the properties yet, and if some had been sold, they were picked up by the other older members of this generation, which called themselves the syndicate. And they took on these properties, paid the taxes on them, until somebody, supposedly like us, came along and said, we want to take care of the property and we want to hunt, and we're excited to be part of this beautiful landscape. And so as I was talking to other people in the last year or so that are taking over the jobs on the land trusts around here that have something to do with the land that I'm familiar with, I realized I was telling these stories over and over again, and that I was really talking about one of the first land trusts that existed around here, which was the syndicate of these older families that took care of the land that we are so lucky to still be able to hunt over today. That was, I don't know why it took me until I was almost 84 to learn that, but it was meeting these other people that are doing the same thing in different parts of the country. I've worked with people in the West, with people in Alaska, and people around New England here, and I've learned a lot from these older people.
In the early 2010s, a large undeveloped parcel in Hunt territory, Sagamore Hill, was threatened with the prospect of development. To preserve the site, individuals led by members of the Hunt contributed $2 million. Meanwhile, the community encouraged towns of Hamilton and Essex to contribute nearly $2 million of community preservation funds. To qualify for the $1.3 million from the state, adjoining landowners donated conservation restrictions on their land. Together, the effort raised over $5 million to preserve 525 acres. Much of the property is open to the public today as a Greenbelt reservation. Later in the 2010s, another tract of land across town faced industrial and residential development. This property had been purchased by then Major George S. Patton in 1924, an avid member of the Myopia Hunt. Again, the members of the Hunt, alongside nearby landowners and the community at large, succeeded in raising the $4 million needed to preserve the 148 acres of the Patton Farm and the adjoining Vineyard Hill in 2019. Today, the property is part of a Greenbelt reservation and hosts a working farm.
So anyway, when we went off to try to put the trails all back in order and everything, we really had a good time. And it turned out that it was the communication, that the newer people on horses were riding in places where they shouldn't have been, like around the swimming pool and under the clothesline and through the garden patch. And we had to have the opportunity clearly explain to the landowner that they could come and talk to us and we'd straighten things out, and try to work it so everybody could share the countryside. And the chains and the ropes came down, and we still work on that very hard. And we also have to pay attention to, as the group called the syndicate did, of what properties are going to go on the market that are part of our big system, and we have to make an effort to be able to buy those properties, which has been done now. In the last 5 years, we managed to save 2 very, very important properties by raising the money. And I will say that for one of the properties, which has a beautiful old hill in it, 2 hills actually, we did a lot of that fundraising from these very much older landowners, which was a miracle that every single one of them pitched in. And we raised the money in order to save that property. And that's a property where we really have to look after the nesting birds and figure out who's living where with us on that land, and then change the routes accordingly. And a lot of the farms are that way now too. So, well, the one thing you know is going to happen is that things are going to change, and unfortunately we have missed one very good property that belonged to one of the old families, and I'm still very irritated with myself over that one. But it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of talking, a lot of meeting together. It's really a group effort. It's not just one person. And it's been a wonderful experience for me with what has happened with trying to take care of these wonderful pieces that were left to us to take care of.
Yes. first generations of the Myopia hunt enjoyed fox hunting on the rural North Shore of Massachusetts. Thanks to their foresight and the contributions of subsequent hunt members, we continue to enjoy this extraordinarily special territory today.
And we learned the country by getting up at 3 o'clock, well, 4 in the morning, and hacking, because we had no trailer, no rooms, to the meets all over the Essex County, as far as I can tell. In the fog, in the rain, in the snow, off we go to join the meet, wherever it was. And my father would talk about where we were and who owned the countryside where we were, and you couldn't help but not feel part of what we had there.
Uh-oh.
Here! Steady, bargain, bargain. Here, here. Here, 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 here.
Go on.
Here, 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 here. Here, we out. We out. We out. Wait a minute.
Comes the rest of them. You probably want to get going sooner than later. How many are there?
30?
Yeah. The hybrid hilltoppers strike again.